Welcome to today's episode of Turning Point Tales, where we talk with people who have went through failure, loss, or major life change and bounced back stronger. We want to dive in deep of what they've went through and how they came back stronger. Today's guest is Joey Venture, an entrepreneur, investor, songwriter whose life reads like a story of resilience, reinvention, and faith. For decades, Joey has guided people toward financial freedom while chasing creativity with the same passion, writing songs that speak to the human spirit and remind us that hope never fades. He's a man who blends business with artistry, numbers with notes, ambition with heart. Joey's journey is proof that it's never too late to rewrite your story and to live each day like it's your next great venture. Welcome to the show, my friend.
It's an honor to be here.
So, Joey, maybe share with us briefly what's been happening the last few months. Just catch us up to date with what you've been working on and how has life been?
Well, the last couple of months is a continuation of a transition that I'm in. Because not this past August, but the August before, I sold my practice that I had been operating for 39 years to my son, who's 27 years old. And so I'm helping him with that transition. I've also got a couple of creative projects in the pipe to kind of distract me. And so that's mostly what's been going on the last couple of months. But I say that I'm in transition because I'm going from 39 years of working in the investment industry to having 3-day weekends. So I took today off. Today's Monday here. So I took today off, I took Sunday off, and I took Saturday off. And I'm not used to having 3 days off because when I have worked in past, I've worked 60 to 80 hour weeks, 5 to 6 days a week. When I owned my cafe a couple of months ago, sometimes it was 7 days a week.
Wow. All right. Good to see you finally get to, take the foot off the pedal a little bit and then hand over the family business to your son.
More tired though because I've been going out at nighttime.
Enjoying life now. Enjoying life
At
a
least
bit more.
3 or 4 nights a week.
Oh, so not out at nightclubs, like dive bars, what?
I love karaoke. I love music. I'm actually a theater major. I have my Bachelor of Science in Theater, and I kind of left that behind when I went into the investment industry, but I'm kind of rediscovering myself. And I go to karaoke for me. I don't go for the audience. A lot of people think that when you're a performer, you're there to get your ego stroked. I go because I want to keep my voice in shape, number one, and I want to be in front of an audience because it's like having a recital. When you're in front of people, you got to perform. It's different than just singing in your house by yourself.
Yep, there's that element of showmanship and entertaining the guests. All right,
Yes.
karaoke. So okay. And what's one other fun fact that people wouldn't guess about you? So you're in entertainment and you're in investment. Is there another hobby or interest that you have?
Yeah, actually, I direct a musical situation comedy improv group.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I'm
improv group.
developing something actually with someone that some of your listeners might know. His father's name was Louis Prima. Louis Prima was the orangutan on the Jungle Book. He also wrote Pennies from Heaven and Just a Gigolo. But his son is with us still. His father passed away a while ago. I'm working with Louis Prima Jr. because we're gearing up to film a pilot called The Tony Loves Trixie Show, which is a musical situation comedy improv. So it's kind of like a combination of The Honeymooners, Seinfeld, and Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Oh, that's an interesting combination.
Yeah,
I love
we're
that.
gonna be pitching it to Netflix and Amazon and a few of the other streaming services that are out there. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I'm having fun on the journey.
Yep, that's the most important thing. Yeah, enjoying the journey along the way in this next upcoming project. Wow, look forward to it. Whether you get a Netflix, what do you call sign
Yeah.
like a Netflix sponsorship,
Hmm.
not Netflix deal, or
Yes.
maybe I don't know, even Amazon Prime.
They used to call it
Paramount.
syndication back in my day when you had a television show that was independent of the network. It was called syndicated. I don't know
Syndicated.
what they call it now. So
All right. Well, keep us up to date on this journey and this
absolutely,
project. Sounds very exciting.
is
I'd love
very
to hear
very
more.
gets me up in the morning.
All right. So you're moving on to this chapter of your life. Wow, that's great, man. Love to hear people working on project that are part of their passion, and then yeah, keeps them going, keeps them active and mentally sharp. All right. So Joey, we'll dive in a little bit about your story now. So your story reads like a modern day comeback, faith, business, and creativity all woven together. So for those who don't know who you are yet, what's a moment in your life that made you realize you were meant for something more?
Ah, well, that big question. So I guess I was on the set. I was on a movie set. Most of your listeners are probably not going to remember this movie, but it was called Ironweed. It was with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. And I was on the set of Ironweed, and I had just gotten into the investment business about a year and a half prior. And they kept calling me back to be what's called a stand-in, which is kind of cool. It's not an extra; like you're not just in the background; you're standing in for one of the actors. They do the lighting on you, and they do all the movement, and they block you in the scene. And I was getting called back, and I was getting union hours. So very quickly, I was going to have my SAG card, my Screen Actors Guild card. So I was like, wow, I'm finally, going to have my Screen Actors Guild card, and I'm participating in the career that I studied for in college. But I got this phone call, and it was my boss from the investment business. And he said, which is it going to be? And it was at that moment that I'll say my flesh wanted to stay in the entertainment industry. But I know that my logic said that, Joe, you were always good with money when you were a kid. I mean, I'm the youngest of three brothers, but I was always the one in the house that was lending them money because I knew how to save it and I knew how to keep track of it. It was just something I would count my pennies and my quarters and I'd write it all down where it came from. When I got birthday money, I created my own ledger before anybody taught me to create a ledger. And then I can remember my mom paying the bills. Like she'd probably do it once a week and she'd take out the box with the envelopes and she'd pay the bills. And I remember being tremendously interested in what she was doing. So that thought process came to me immediately when he said to me, which is it going to be? It came to me like a flash and almost supernatural, to the point where I was like, I am very good at this and I've always been interested in money. So what's wrong with staying in the investment industry instead of going with where my heart is, my passion was?
Oh wow! All right. So your boss forced you to make a decision, so you decided to leave the entertainment industry and
Yeah.
move on to the investment
And
space.
that's when I realized that I was meant for something different than I thought I was.
And then you've stuck with that industry now, passed on the legacy to your son.
It'll
Wow,
be 40 years in March.
40 years in this space. Wow, congratulations, man!
Thank you,
What an
man.
achievement.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and I understand that you've also written a book called Month of Sundays, which
Yes, I
is
have.
care to share with us a little bit about how this book came to life and what
Ooh.
inspired you to write this book?
Well, right before the stock market crashed in 2009, I had aspirations. It was one of the things on my bucket list to write a book. So I actually hired a ghostwriter because in the investment industry, you got a lot of work on your hands. So, I basically would spend time with him on the phone. I'd tell him exactly what I wanted the chapters to be like. And he started ghostwriting my chapters for me. I think he got into about the eighth chapter when the stock market crashed. And not only did the stock market crash in 2009 or a major adjustment, but all of my employees, not all, I'd say 75% of my employees did what's called a mutiny. They all had gotten together prior to this happening. They figured out how to steal the lists and the clients, and they planned it all out. They opened their own, they went to their own firm, and they basically attempted to steal my business from me. And so both of these two things were happening at the same time. I was talking to the ghostwriter, said, listen, this is on hold right now. So the book sat from 2009. Okay. And it wasn't until um, 2020, right around where COVID happened, I started thinking of finishing my book. And instead of going back to my ghostwriter, I finished the book myself. And so I took the chapters that he had written and the ones that hadn't been written yet, and I finished and revisited the entire book and put it together called Month of Sundays. And the book is really about sabbatical, taking a sabbatical, which I was kind of forced to do in 2009, 2010.
Took a sabbatical for about a year or so. Okay,
3 years.
just to 3 years. All right, sorry, 2009 till
Well, it
2000.
was the end of 2009 till about 2013. Well, I'm sorry. In 2013, I took a sabbatical till 2015, but it was a total of 3 years altogether.
3 years. Okay, and then mind share with us, what you went through during those sabbatical, the
Well, in
journey.
2009, my employees had left. They basically the war started in 2009, and I did everything I could to kind of save my accounts and save my business. And from 2009 to 2013, um, basically, I got a phone call from a guy, and he's like, "Oh, I heard what happened to you. That's terrible. These guys are the like pirates. Listen, you probably got to downsize. Come to my firm." So I thought of it as, wow, this guy's an angel, right? Like he's offering me to take all my, downsize my office, take whatever's left of my employees. He rolled out the red carpet for me. He put my name on the door. He rebuilt a space for me. I mean, he just rolled out the red carpet for me. And a year and a half later, he did the same thing to me.
Man.
Then I got another phone call from another guy who's like, "Oh, I hate that guy. He's my arch enemy. You come to my firm and I'll help you save whatever's left of your clients. This guy's the worst, you know." And so I went to the next firm, and a year and a half later, guess what he did?
Same things. Stole
Almost
from
the same
underneath.
thing, except he had a little bit more integrity. He said, "I tell you what, I want to buy your clients from you." And I
Okay.
said, "Let me guess. You're going to buy them for about half of what they're really worth, right? And if I don't accept your offer, you're going to steal them anyways." And so when you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, you watch some of these movies about Wall Street and the financial services industry, and you think those guys are bad, Hollywood can't make those guys bad enough.
Really?
It's really a
Oh,
lot worse. And that's why when my son came to me, when I put my firm back together in 2015 at the end of my sabbatical, he said, "Dad, I want to work with you." Now he was just a teenager at the time. He was like 19 years old. And I said, "No, I do not want you in this industry because the people who work in the financial services industry are wolves. They are the greed. Greed is just overrun. And I didn't understand when Occupy Wall Street happened. I don't know if you remember when Occupy Wall Street happened, but it was basically a protest that lasted for months and months and months. And basically, their goal was to do away with greed. And at the time, I said to myself, boy, that's a really lofty goal to do away with greed. But when it happened to me, when it affected me, I understood that greed on Wall Street controls men and their decisions, and there is no boundaries whatsoever. They'll stick their best friends in the back in order to gain money.
wow. All right. Cutthroat industry. So we need thick skin and be able to stab each other in the back, so I assume, to say the
Uh,
least.
here's the thing. You don't have to be dishonest to be in the investment business. You don't have to have no integrity to be in the investment business. You just got to know when to turn on and off your empathy switch. And discernment is really important. If you've got good discernment and you know when to turn on and off your empathy switch, you can do very well in the investment business. But like me, I grew up in a small town. I was very naive. I looked at myself in the mirror and then I looked at people. And I said, well, they're pretty much the same, right? Everybody has the same integrity and everybody is going to look out for each other's best interest, right? That was my mantra growing up through college and into my investment career. But that doesn't work very well.
Mhm. So you gotta learn to adapt yourself to that industry, that environment, in order to survive and thrive. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I survived and thrived because I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great door opener. In my industry, they call it a rainmaker. If you're a great rainmaker, you can get people to come through the door. That's all that matters. I was very, very good at that. I was very, very bad at discerning not my clients, but the people that I worked with. I trusted, I was naive. And so, have I ever learned that lesson? I will tell you right now, I'm going on 40 years and I can talk about this stuff and I can teach about it. But at the end of the day, I still trust people. I still think the best in people. And I don't know if I want to give that up. I've made it through this far. I went through the valley of the shadow of death. I came back out of the valley of the shadow of death. My son's taking over my business. I'm financially independent. What do I got to complain about? Now, I guess I want to go to the grave and I want people to show up, maybe show up to my funeral and go, he always believed in the good in people. I don't
Okay.
want to be tainted by a few group of greedy people. So when I talk to people, I try to discern the best as I can to see whether or not I can trust them. But on the same token, I believe in the good until they prove themselves not trustworthy.
Okay. Yep. Try to see the good in people. I like it. Yeah, that's a good mindset to have. All right. So you spent all these time, teaching people how to be financially independent or gain financial freedom.
Yes.
How do you help your clients with not just their wealth, but also help them to be at peace with their money?
You hit on a great subject because a lot of people think I'm in the investment business because I tell them I'm in the investment business, but I'm really in the psychology business. What
Uh-huh.
we are as registered investment advisors and financial planners is money gatherers. Okay. Don't let anybody fool you. The real rocket scientists are down on Wall Street. If I was a rocket scientist, that's where I'd be. But I'm a money gatherer. I help people gather money. I help them become wealthy. I help them avoid taxes. And it's very satisfying. And the reason why it's satisfying is because I don't want to use the word poverty, but I pretty much grew up in poverty. I mean, there was 4 kids in my family. There was one bathroom. My parents paid $50 a month mortgage payments, and sometimes they were late on that. My father worked in the restaurant business. My mother never worked. She never even drove a car. Um, so my dad was out of work. I remember the 70s when unemployment was rampant. So he was out of work a lot. He would always go from restaurant to restaurant. So financial stability was not there in my house. Something happens to you when you're a kid that grows up in poverty. You kind of snap at one point and you go, when I grow up, I am not going to live like this. And so that's what was really attractive about being in the investment business was that it was a way in which I could become wealthy, but more importantly, it was a way in which I could teach other people not to be in poverty. And that was very satisfying. Teaching people how to get ahead, teaching them how to become more wealthy, not the wealthiest. They're never going to be in the top 1%, right? But to make a better life for themselves. I mean, now that I've been in the business 40 years, I have seen people that I started with that have now passed. Their children inherited their money, and now they're about to pass that money on to their children. So I've seen 3 generations of people that have built wealth, and it's extremely satisfying because unfortunately, I have to go to a lot of clients' funerals. Your client passes away, you want to go to the funeral to wish the spouse, it's hard, and you got to wish them a time that that things will be better, that they'll get through it, but it's very satisfying in the same token because when you walk in the room being someone's financial planner for 20, 30, 40 years, you're revered. This is the guy that helped these people become wealthy. This is the guy that helped them write their will and their healthcare proxy and their power of attorney and their trust. And this is the guy that 30 years ago got them to save more money than they would have saved on their own. Very
Ah,
satisfying.
yeah, it's great, man. I like it how you're making an impact on their lives and help these clients of yours generate generational wealth so that it could pass on to their children and their children's children, which is amazing. I love
Amen.
it.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. While we're on the subject of helping people generate wealth, I know a lot of people are afraid to talk about money because it's emotional, it's personal, and people make it taboo. How do you make that conversation easier when you're speaking with people about money or even the psychology of money?
Yeah, and you're going to meet all different kinds of personalities when you're in my field. You meet the anonymous people, you meet the people who wear their emotions on their sleeve. You meet all these different kinds of personalities, and what's important is when you're meeting with somebody to want to become first of all part of their tribe. And what I mean by that is by mirroring that client, by understanding their personality, they trust you. Okay, it's kind of like if we parachuted you out into the Amazon and the headhunters, the pygmies, they got you, and now they've got you with the spears pointed at you. What do you want to do? You want to look down. You don't want to look them in the eye. You want to genuflect. You want to lay prostrate on the ground. And so when you go into an appointment, you got to be the humble one. And then you start to learn their customs and how they act and their language. And once you learn that, you gain their trust. Now, if you're really good at this, the chief has you sitting next to him eating dinner. And if you're really good at it, he offers his daughter in marriage to you. Okay. And that's what it's like being in the investment business. You have to gain that trust. And you have to sometimes say to people, listen, if you were with a doctor and the doctor said, take off your clothes, we have to do an examination. What do people do?
Take off.
They take off their clothes, right? And when you're
Uh-huh.
with a financial advisor, they've got to understand and know that they have to share everything with you. Matter of fact, it's part of our industry. Full and fair disclosure. I mean, you got to give them full disclosure. They've got to give you full disclosure. Okay, you were talking about disclosing, right? You got to have disclose. So when you're sitting with a client, very often, being professional, gaining their trust, and letting them know, hey, listen, I'm here for your good. I have tools, and I want to use those tools to better you. I want to eliminate as much taxes as we possibly can because every dollar we take from the government is a dollar for you. We want to make sure that you pass these assets on to your children so that it avoids probate court costs, and lawyers' fees. We want to get you the best rate of return because it's not just the wealthy that deserve to earn a 10, 11, 12% rate of return. They might earn millions on their millions. You're going to earn thousands on your thousands. But as far as the interest rate is concerned, it's probably going to be the same. If they're going to earn 10, you're going to earn 10. So when the clients hear that you're going to be their coach, that you're going to guide them and they can call you anytime they want, weekends, night times, emails, whenever they want, text messages, when they know they have a coach that may not have all the answers, but knows where to get all the answers, they look at you and say, we should have had you 20 years ago.
Uh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, how you have to build trust and that trust is earned and not really given. So you gotta make sure you know your stuff and be there to serve the client. Yeah, as service providers, yeah, we're there to
Yeah.
serve the market. Yeah.
And as an actor, I also know that there's something called inner monologue. An inner monologue is what you're thinking while you're speaking. And if you have ill thoughts, that's going to come out. So therefore, when you sit with a client, your heart has to be in the right place, because that heart, whatever's in your heart, is going to come to your brain and it's going to come out your mouth, and they're going to pick up on it no matter what. So when you go into an appointment, you've got to go in with a missionary zeal, right? That you're going to look out for these people's best interests, and that's all that matters.
Yes, that's right. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Ah, excellent quote.
Yeah. All right. We'll switch gears a little bit. I know you've mentioned initially your company, your employees started stealing clients away from you, and then you went to another firm. That guy did the same to you. And the third one, which had a little bit more integrity, but still kind of try to get you to sell your clients at 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, I mean they have your back against the wall. They can do you a lot of damage, and when they know they can do a lot of damage, that decreases the price basically.
Yeah. All right.
It's kind of like a choice. Do you want me to just steal your clients, or do you want me to give you some money for them? Those are your two choices.
Uh-huh. And how did that affect you emotionally, because going through so many hits
The
while
third
running
time,
through business? Yeah.
yeah, the third time it happened to me, I'll tell you, this was actually my reaction. I actually looked at the guy and I said, in a moment, I said, maybe this is what God wants for my life right now, because obviously he's closing doors. And the guy looked at me like, almost like, how dare you give God the credit for this? He wanted it to hurt. He wanted to see the pain. He wanted to see the control. It's almost like, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use this analogy. You can cut it out if you want to. Why do men rape women? It's not for sex. It's for control, anger. They're angry and they want to control the woman. That's why they don't rape for sex. This guy was not buying, he wasn't buying this book of business because he needed another book of business. He wanted to crush me. He was a controlling person. It wasn't that, I mean, he could have very simply said, "Hey Joe, why don't you just find another office somewhere? You could take your book of business with you and you can transition to another financial services company, and I'll just hold on to the accounts. I'm not going to talk to your clients until you move them all over." He could have said that. That could have been the third option, right?
Uh-huh.
No. It was, if you don't accept my offer, I'm going to take your clients anyway. So I don't care if it's only half of what they're really worth. You've been through 3 moves. I know I've got you.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So it's all about control for him. And did he ever see you as a threat as well? By the time you moved with,
I've thought of that a lot. And I think a lot of people who own their own companies, when they bring in another guy who has owned his own company all his life, but he's a real leader, they get jealous of that person because they see you getting media attention. They see you being very popular with your clients. They see all that and they're like, "Well, how come I didn't get an article in the newspaper? And how come he gets to be on television being interviewed on the afternoon news?" And and they try to take that from you. They try to steal it from you. I had one guy, he basically kept using compliance as the reason why I couldn't do things out in the public. He didn't want me in the public's eye. He wanted to be in the public's eye, but he didn't want me in the public's eye because it was all about ego. That's what it is. Once these guys have enough money, they're living in a 6,000 square foot house. Their children are all taken care of for lifetimes. Once they have money, all the money they ever want, what's left for them? Power.
oh, no, yep, money and power.
I mean,
Okay.
think about a politician for a minute. The narcissism you have to be a politician, right? Like these guys are millionaires. Why are they running for government positions? To get more money and subject their families to what a politician is subjected to? Why would you subject your family to that when you're independently wealthy? Because they're narcissists. So a lot of guys in my industry are over. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of narcissism to be a salesperson. You have to have a certain amount of narcissism to be a politician. And if it's harnessed well and controlled, you could be very successful and you can help a lot of people. But a lot of people, their narcissism is completely out of control. And it's out of control when they try to damage people. That's just one of the signs.
Uh,
And they enjoy it.
okay. All right. Could be a narcissist. Yeah, that's a nasty character. That I
And
try
on
to
Wall
avoid.
Street, there's plenty of them.
I'm sure. I'm sure there is. Wow. Okay. So after being screwed over so many times and you still picked yourself back up, what's one simple mindset shift that you feel made you resilient and be able to just continue to pick yourself back up and carry on?
First and foremost, I'll say it's my faith.
Awesome.
If you go through what I went through and you don't have faith, you probably will find yourself at the edge of the 40th floor, thinking about jumping. Or if you don't have faith, you're going to find yourself on a bridge if you go through what I went through. And many people do. That when they lose, I was in the business for 28 years when all that stuff started happening, and you have those thoughts of just offing yourself. And if I hadn't had my faith, I don't know where I would have been today. I don't know where I'd be if I'd be here today. So number one, that's how I got on my feet. Another thing is in a sabbatical, which is what I was kind of forced to do. God kind of closed the door and said, "You're taking a sabbatical and it's going to be for 3 years." And I'm like, "Okay, you're in charge." I asked him to step in, and boy, did he step in. So during my sabbatical, I re-educated myself. The first year, I had said, "Well, I'm going to try to find some consultant work," but every door kept closing on me for consultant work. So I re-educated myself. I watched a lot of documentaries, um, just about spirituality, about being positive, the laws of attraction. I learned about all these things that I hadn't really focused on because pretty much out of college, I joined in the investment industry. So I didn't really, I had college experience, but I didn't have life experience. And then I was hurled into the investment business, and all I did was work all the time and raise my family. I let go of my hobbies. I let go of my music. All I did was work, go to church on Sunday, and take care of my family. And I did that for 28 years. I didn't even watch a lot of television because by the time I got home, I was exhausted. So I'd watch maybe some reality show like Cops or something like that, and then fall asleep because I was so exhausted. Um, so having that sabbatical was key. And I'm sorry, what what was your question?
The mindset, the
Yeah,
mindset that
okay.
you
So
needed. Yeah,
God
you start
God
with
was
faith.
number
Yeah,
one.
God
God was
first.
number
Yep.
one. Education was number two, and realizing that I needed to make myself happy. I
Uh
needed
huh.
to start doing things that were going to make me happy. So I started songwriting again and playing my
Yep.
guitar, playing
Okay.
instrument, playing music. And those three things, they gave me the rest that a sabbatical is supposed to give you.
Yep. Yep. You gotta, re-energize. Yeah, not just work to provide, but obviously leave room for the fun stuff, your passion and your hobbies. Leave some room for the stuff that
Smell
you.
the roses.
Correct. Yeah. Wake up, smell the roses. Exactly. Go on. That's awesome. And what's one piece of advice you think you have given to people who feel stuck or feel left behind and like there's no light at the end of the tunnel in your journey as a salesman, consultant, father?
The advice I would give them, and I know what their answer is going to be, they're going to say, I can't afford to do that, is to take a sabbatical. And if you can't take 3 years off like I did, which was quite a luxury, if you can't take 3 years off, then figure out how to preserve your sabbatical throughout the course of the week. Now, Sunday is supposed to be a day of rest. And that's where that phrase comes from, month of Sundays. Like if you had a month of Sundays, that means every day would be off. You wouldn't have to go to work. You wouldn't have to do anything. You just rest. And unfortunately, nowadays, you ask somebody who's uh, 40 or younger what month of Sunday means, and they don't know because they grew up in a 24/7, 365 day a year where everything was open. When I was a kid, things were closed on Sunday. You couldn't do anything but rest anyway and be with your family and eat and relax. Now, everything's open 24/7, 365 days a year, right? So there's always something going on. I mean, even schools and teams have sports for kids on Sunday. That was a
Hmm.
big no-no back in the day. There was laws called the blue laws that forced businesses to close on a Sunday because it was just part of our culture. That has been swept away. So a month of Sundays is rest. So do yourself a favor. If you can't take a sabbatical, you can't afford to take 3 years off or 1 year off or 2 years off, re-educate and rest yourself. Rest every day, every week on Sunday. Don't plan anything. Have a meal with your family at the table. Watch television if you want to. Read a book. Put together a puzzle. Make believe the lights are out. Get away from technology. Be with your family and rest in them. So, what I would say to someone, the best advice I can give to somebody that feels there's no light at the end of the tunnel, like you said, and they feel like they're just chasing this dream and they're following, what the world tells them to do, have a sabbatical every week. And if someone looks at you and goes, so what are you doing on Sunday? Your first answer is nothing. I'm not doing it. You mean you go to the movies or you go out to eat no, I'm not doing anything. Not doing anything. I'm just going to get bored. I'm going to be bored on Sunday so that when Monday rolls around, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go to work because I was
Huh.
so bored yesterday. I'm going to go to work and there's things to do there. That's exciting.
Yep.
What a different perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because as humans, we can't be all go, go, go 100 miles an hour all through 7 days a week. You got to
Yeah, I
take that
mean,
little
I don't know
sabbatical.
what it's like there in Australia. I would imagine it's similar to what it's like here in the U.S. Let's face it, the U.S. was formed by immigrants. It was formed by people. They left their countries. Why did they leave their countries and come to America? Because they had nothing. They had nothing. They left nothing behind. They came here with nothing. Okay. Now that may not be true this year or last year or the year before, but in the early 19th century, right? The 1800s, people came here with absolutely nothing, looking for a dream. All they had was their work ethic.
Uh-huh.
And they came here
And the
and they
dream.
worked and they worked and they worked and they worked. They didn't do high tea. They didn't have a siesta. They didn't do what a lot of the cultures do today, which is have rest in the middle of the day. They work sometimes through their lunches and their dinners, sunrise to sunset, right? And sometimes after sunset. So America is overboard when it comes to working. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of lazy people here too. Uh, but on average, we got our work ethic from our ancestors who knew nothing but to work so they could put a roof over their head and food in their bellies. That's
Yep.
why Americans actually need to be taught how to rest. I talk to people, I go, do you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Oh, no, I don't have time for that. You
Just grab
got
something convenient on the go.
They grab a bagel. This is why you go to Europe, right? And you look in the streets and the tourists. You could spot the Americans. You know how? Their bellies are out to here. They're stressed out, so their cortisol levels are off the chart, and they eat the worst food in the world, and they get fat. You look at Europeans; most of them are thin. They're healthy, but Americans don't know how to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They don't know how to take the time out to have a sabbatical on a Sunday to enjoy and fellowship with people. They don't know how to do it. So
Um,
that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book too. And so the
yep,
thing I would tell people is rest, because your work time becomes so much more effective when you're fully rested.
yep. So important. Yep, the value of rest and recharging, re-energizing before you go take on the world again.
Right. Because we've got these two lobes of our brain. We've got the logic and the emotion. And we've got these fibers that connect those two lobes of our brain. If we're just over in the logical side, in the work mode all the time, we're not creative at work. We need to use both lobes of our brain at work to become highly efficient. You become highly efficient when you are rested and those fibers are cooperating with each other and you have true discernment.
Ah, yeah, there's that bit of psychology nugget of wisdom there. Got to use both the left and the right side of the brain so that you don't miss out on the creative part. Ah,
Right.
wow. Learning a lot here.
Well, I'm honored to be able to say these words. I'm 63, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be around for.
Yeah, yeah, get all these nuggets of wisdom documented, and then you can share it to the world to inspire other people on how they could take a sabbatical,
Yeah.
work on their faith, family, finance,
Yeah.
all these important pillars in our
Yeah, and
lives.
we don't have mentors anymore, right? The older ones are supposed to teach the younger ones. But if you watch television, you watch commercials, the commercials sell themselves on the younger ones know better than the older ones. Like, oh, come here, mom, let me help you with that. You shouldn't be taking that kind of aspirin. You should be taking these aspirins over here. It's the young ones teaching the old ones. It's not that way. The old ones need to teach the young ones. But the young ones are like, what the hell do you know? They think, they think that the older people know nothing because they can't navigate the internet well, or they don't know how to use their telephones. So they're stupid. I think the greatest thing a young person could do is find themselves a mentor that they talk to once to twice a week and gain wisdom from an older person, because
Yep,
that is what's going to separate them from the rest.
I agree because they have all these life experiences and all this wisdom gathered throughout their life that they could impart. Because nothing beats life experience, hands-on experience in a working world. So yeah, I'm always constantly seeking mentors too.
Yeah.
Speaking with one later this week. Yeah,
Oh, awesome. I love the story of the Christmas Carol. You're familiar with the book by Charles Dickens?
I know the actor, but I'm sorry, I know the author. Yeah, but not so
Yeah.
much the content of this book.
So the Christmas Carol is a story that's told at Christmas time, and it's about redemption of a character named Ebenezer Scrooge. And I pick up so many things by watching and listening to that movie or reading that book. And one of them is the fact that back then during the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, young boys were assigned mentors to teach a trade to them, and they were raised up they were assigned basically to somebody to mentor them, and learn an industry, so that they could become, you know uh, urge winners.
Yep. Uh Good. Yeah, because these days, if you heard of this saying, you gotta have a top five in your life, because you are the average of the five people you surround yourself with.
Very
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, so Jim Rohn and people like Tony Robbins talk about that. So it's not to say like, oh, Uncle Bob is out of the picture now because he's not adding value to my life. I'm saying, you have a professional top five, you have a personal top five that you always constantly surround yourself with so that, you move forward in life, and then in
Yeah.
in return you help someone else along the way.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
yeah.
I think the Bible gives us a great example of that. You know, Jesus was God on foot, and yet he realized he could only surround himself with 12 guys. That was the maximum number of relationships that being human could do.
12 close relationships. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if you have no more than 12 inner circle people, like you said, maybe 5 of them are personal and 5 of them are business, that's a formula and a recipe for success.
So that's about 10 people. Yeah. Five
Yeah,
personal
10 to
and five
12.
in business. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I could add more. All right. Up to 12.
Up to 12 because you know, you never know when you're going to lose somebody, right? I'm doing some exciting things right now. I actually just was interviewed for a documentary that is going to be coming out next year. It's about an amusement park down in the Catskill Mountains. And it was an amusement park called Carson City. And I was lucky enough to be one of the people that were interviewed for that. So I'm looking
Oh,
forward to that documentary coming out.
Carson City. Where is that based?
So
Carson
Carson
City.
City was an amusement park in the Catskills in New York.
Okay.
The Catskills is a really interesting place. Most people know that area for a place called Catskill Game Farm, which was world renowned. Back in the day, in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, people used to come up into the Catskills because there was no air conditioning. So they'd come for long stays because the mountains were cool and they could get out of the heat of New York City. So there's a lot of history in the Catskill Mountains, and I got to be part of the documenting of that history in the documentary about Carson City, which was a Wild West amusement park in the Catskills.
Wow. So, all right. That'll be exciting to see this
Yeah,
documentary.
I'm looking forward to doing that, and you know it's great. Because I really am honored to be on your show, you know, and where it's going to be broadcast. I mean, my life was very encapsulated over the last 40 years, and it's only been this last year or so that I'm reaching out to the world and able to be on shows like yours. And I've been on a few podcasts, and now I've been interviewed on a documentary, and I'm meeting people from all over the world now. Whereas the last 40 years, I was kind of like in a bubble. So it is truly an honor to for you to take me with you in your in your blog here and broadcast it abroad. Thank you very much.
No, no. It is an honor to have you on, Joey. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. All right. Well, we'll just I'll wrap it up a little bit. We'll summarize what we've been through. So we'll summarize like what are the habits or mindset shifts. So mindset, habits, and support system that helped you the most in these 40 years. So I'll repeat your habits, mindset, and support system. Support system could be friends, family, co-workers.
Yeah. Oh, listen. So I have short-term memory loss. So we'll do one at a time. My
Sure.
mindset was one of seeking happiness every day, and sometimes that is inclusive of ridding yourself of toxic people. Get toxic people out of your life. Surround yourself with good, happy people, and surround yourself with a happy lifestyle. Find reasons to be happy and laugh and rest. So that was my mindset. So what was the other one too?
Mindset shift. That's the second out of three.
So the one I just described, is it mindset?
Pursuit of happiness. I guess it kind of blends in together, so that's fine.
Okay.
Let's ask about your support system, people who have supported you throughout the journey.
Yeah.
Could be a
So
son, could be
yeah, and I got a lot of my information from documentaries. In specific, I don't wholeheartedly believe in the book The Secret because there's a lot of things I don't agree with. But the book The Secret was a major support for me, and it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I would recommend that to anybody.
last one. If your comeback story could inspire someone, what message would you share with them? for them to take away?
It's never over. It's never over. It, up from the ashes can come the roses of success. Most millionaires and billionaires goes bankrupt 2 and 3 times before they hit their highest point. So roll with the punches. Never stop. Create activity, even when you don't feel like it.
Create activity. So meaning taking action despite of whatever depressed state or emotional state you're going through as
I
men.
think, therefore I become. You know, if I'm depressed and I don't want to get out of bed and I ache all over and I don't want to do not let your emotions dictate your actions. And here's why. Emotions are temporal. They're temporary. They change like the wind. So therefore, you cannot base decisions on emotions alone. And I'll say the
Yep.
same thing for logic. You can't just base life decisions in pure math. You have to have some heart in that decision process. I think logic needs to override emotion. But I think emotion is the discernment that allows you to make a solid decision and have your heart into it.
Wow. All right. So logic gotta rule over emotions, and then you gotta have discernment when it comes to your decision making in day-to-day
Yeah.
life.
It's the
Okay.
combination of using both of those two lobes of your brain that allow you to that gives you a decision that you believe in.
Yep. Great stuff, man. All
It is
right.
great stuff. I mean,
So,
and none of it's mine. I got
yep.
it from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, pick it from many different sources, many different mentors, teachers,
Yeah.
educators. Yep.
There's
And apply it
wisdom
to
in a
our own
multi
lives.
there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors.
That's right. You're always getting perspective from different people. All right. Look forward to, seeing the fruits of your labor and keep crushing it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Have a good night, Joey.
Good night, sir.
Bye.
Bye-bye.